Democracy is a form of government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised directly by them or by their elected agents under a free electoral system. Capitalism is an economic system in which capital goods are owned by private individuals or businesses. The production of goods and services is based on supply and demand in the general market.
Number 1. In 1950, the U.S. corporations started to afford more than 90% of their inversions in Latin America. Since then, the degree of concentration has increased. 2. U.S. started building a lot of companies in Latin America, giving thousands of jobs to people who would work at their factories assembling the parts of their products. People in America started buying the things that they produced themselves, and even though most of the money went to the U.S., also part of it stayed in Latin America. When people started making more money, they started growing, making their own companies and businesses, helping this part of the continent to grow. People, after creating their own businesses, started to invest and gaining more money. So a capitalist society started to emerge when people started to buy more things and create more things of their own products. When capitalism started to grow, the differences between people grew along it. Because yes, before this started, there were people who had more power than others. But now that some of the people were rich and had way more privileges than others, everything changed. Number 2. Also, in a kind of way, the social classes appeared. The high class would treat the low classes almost as if they were slaves. Number 3. Now poor people had way less resources, and some of them couldn't even afford crucial things for life, such as food and medical health care. Starvation began to spread through the countries. With increasing of production, hand labor became more and more important, but it came to an end in which it became humanitarian exploitment. So the work conditions for workers were deplorable. Number 5. Also, for the increase of production, the land and the earth started to be exploited as well, because for creating everything that they needed for selling, a lot of natural resources were exploited and abused. Number 1. In 1950, the U.S. corporations started to afford more than 90% of their inversions in Latin America. Since then, the degree of concentration has increased. Number 2. U.S. started building a lot of companies in Latin America, giving thousands of jobs to people.
In China, 1860s, the Opium Wars left a trail of humiliation, seeing that their technology was no match for the Europeans, who were superior in all aspects. India, being the most colonized territory in Asia, was also no match for Europeans. Some followed the saying, if you can't find them, join them. Down in the Middle East, Muslims were being humiliated too. By 1896, according to Sayyid Jamal ad-Din al-Farani, an Asian thinker, described the Muslim situation as the following. The foreigners chained up Muslims, put around their necks a yoke of servitude, debase them, humiliate their lineage, left behind pretty good gifts. In Japan, industrialization, centralization, and some liberal constitution fundamentals were established. All these little things in Asia took them into different roads. Asians soon realized why Europeans were able to dominate. The answer was that Europeans had superior industrial technology and organization. This led to Asia adopting Western politics, military, and education. Of course, this wasn't completely achieved, but they tried to. People like a guy called Gauss in India thought that adopting too many European ideas was a bad idea. Some considered So, as a conclusion, we can say that imperialism helped Asia industrialize and organize themselves better. Unfortunately, with imperialism came racism, and within racism came angry Asians. China imposed an authoritarian state, convinced that liberal ideas were bad for them. They were too racist, maybe. These acts set back democracy and capitalism. India, being full of Western people, adopted their ways of democracy and a free market. Well, you could say capitalism started in Asia, with rogue merchants trying to sell their products in a free market. We can see at Asia in the 19th century, and we look at a territory that maybe wasn't ready for benefits that the West provided. Benefits like liberal thoughts, the base for democracy. Fortunately, nowadays we can see that Asia has grown, and now they are ready for better ways.